What's up, guys? It is 11:05 a.m. on Sunday, March May 10th, and just want to go over the things that I seen and I interacted with in my first 30 days of working as a BDR in tech sales. And I know majority of you guys that are in sales have heard about tech sales. Like, you guys know, like, the big three. You guys know about door to door. You guys know about life insurance, and then there's tech. Okay, and just want to kind of go over my experience with tech. Of course, every company that you're gonna potentially work at is gonna be completely different from the other one, but I do want to give you guys like a not I wouldn't say a warning. A warning is like not the best verbiage, but what you might be getting yourself into. Okay, so there are pros and cons to this industry. Okay, so pros, for one, my company and majority of the companies that are out there, you can work fully remote. Okay, I work fully remote. I don't go anywhere. I don't commute to the day job. I don't commute to the office. Like, I'm in my office and this is what I do. Okay, and that's one of the biggest things with um, tech sales that I feel like is one of the best things, is that you don't have to go anywhere, right? Like, if you want to go work at a coffee shop for 3 hours and come back home and keep working, you can do that because no one's going to tell you what to do and what not to do. The only thing the companies care about is that you're hitting your metrics, getting meetings booked. And I mean, that's really it. Like, they just care about those two things. And if you're constantly improving to get to the next level, that's really all these companies care about, right? So that's a main thing. And I would definitely say, like, the income potential, right? Like, a typical low end SaaS company is going to pay you around like 40 to 50K on the base salary, and then maybe around like 80K for commissions on on target earnings. So with SaaS companies, they will pay you some sort of base to work at the company to kind of figure out what your, like, your process, sales cadence, everything basically, right? Like, they'll pay you and you're on ramp for 3 months, and you will get, after your off ramp, you will not have a quota, and that quota is the additional to your base salary, also known as OTE, on target earnings. So, on target hitting these numbers every single month, you will make X amount in the year, right? And of course, there's times where you can exceed the quota. Sorry, my hair's like a little crazy right now. There's times where you can exceed the quota. There's times where you can not hit quota. Like, it just really depends. That's really irritating. But yeah, not like that's the payment structure in the bombshell. And I feel like that's also very strong as well, because it not only gives you a buffer or cushion to, let's say, if you live on your own, pay your rent, pay your car, whatever, or even if you live with your parents, it gives you some sort of cushion to kind of figure those things out. And then on top of that, once you have everything figured out, now you have this opportunity to make more money, right? You have this double the opportunity to make more money now because of the commission structure, right? And I know every single company is going to be different, and with the commission structure, like how much you make and all that, like, it really depends on the company. But low end is going to be 40 to 50K base, and then bigger companies, I wouldn't say better companies, that's not the right word, but anything above that is going to be 60 to 70K base, and then 110, 120 OTE for the year. Okay, and that alone gives you freedom on its own. Like, of course, you're still working in a corporate 9 to 5 environment, but you are building skills for the longevity of your life. Okay, sales is one of those industries to where it's drastically performance based. Like, how can you improve from the day before? Like, how are you today going to improve from what you yesterday did? Because that's in the past now. Like, you're no longer even that person. You're in this new land of opportunities. How are you going to take control of these opportunities, right? And that's the good thing, but also the bad thing at sales. Like, if you're not a people, like, if you're not like a people's person, like, I wouldn't say you do bad in sales, because honestly, I grew up very introverted, but it's such a big and good vehicle because you build those skills over time. So let's say that you make 40,000, 45,000, 50,000 on the base of the company, right? You work there for a year to 2 years. You now have 1 to 2 years of experience of working at a SaaS company. Now you can go to a bigger company if you really wanted to, with bigger base salary, bigger OTE structure. Like, you're building skills to level you up for the next position or like the next company. Like, and that's one of the best thing about sales, is that you can get really freaking good at it, and then that's when you become valuable. And I feel like that's what people forget. They're so focused on like the money, and don't worry, I fall victim to this as well. I was so focused on the money, and I was making money, but when I stopped focusing about money and started focusing on the actual skill itself, is when I made more money. Because now you're no longer tied to something that's materialistic. You're tied to something that is actually taking you up. It's the vehicle. Like, if you're not good at sales, you don't have a skill, right? Just like if you don't know how to drive, you can't really drive because you're not really proficient at it. And guess what? How do you get the skill to learn how to drive? Reps. You drive every single day. You ask your mom if you could drive. You ask your dad if you can drive every now and then to the store. Like, that's how you get in reps. And it's the same thing in sales. And in this particular industry, if you're working as a BDR or SDR, I don't know what the big difference is between those two, because I'm pretty sure with most companies you do the same thing. But I know that BDR is split up by outbound, and then SDR is split up by inbound. So I don't know how those two work, but that's also something as well. And then while we're talking about positions, let's also get into promotions and things like that. Like, what's the next step after a BDR? Well, I bet you guys are thinking, isn't it like the closer? No, you actually kind of skip something there. You're now going to become a senior BDR, which is just like a slight promotion from where you are right now, right? And what that offers you is a little bit of flexibility. Okay, so with senior BDRs, typically around this time, you found a good process, you found good pipeline management, you found good cadence, good sales cadence, you found a good script that you like to use. You have a couple, or no, sorry, not script. You have a couple good openers, you have product knowledge, you have all these things that make you successful now, to where you don't have to do the same activity that you were doing as a standard BDR. Because typically in like your first like 6 months, you're most likely going to be doing like 60 to 100 cold calls a day, maybe more, right? Just to kind of figure out what your cadence is, figure out what works best for you. And once you hit the senior level, it takes you less calls to book more meetings. To where when you first started, it maybe took you 30 calls, let's say, to book a meeting, right? But now, since you're a senior and you have a little bit of experience, you have a process, maybe it takes you 5 calls to book a meeting, right? So let's say that you need to do like 19 sets for the month and 15 holds, for example. You Within 5 calls, you can have majority of those things done, and you have an 8-hour span from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 8 to 5, right, to actually hit these numbers. And by the way, there's only 22 working days in the month, right? So you have 22 days to get 19 sets and make sure that 15 of them hold, which is very attainable. And that's also something I want to talk about, attainability within these roles. And on top of that, I'm also going to make another video for tech sales, like job hunting, because I know that's like one of the biggest things. That's something I had to go through, right? And I did it the free way. I didn't really want to pay someone to look for a job because I just feel like that's kind of stupid. But you can definitely pay to get a mentor and actually get into tech and have that like a lot easier. But I will teach you guys how I did it on my own. Okay. But yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about the sets and holds and all of that stuff. Okay, so regarding that, that's another part of your quota. So you have set goal and then you have holds goal. And the reason that you have both of those is that the sets turn into holds, right? And the reason that there's two different numbers, like, okay, if you hit 15 holds you just hit your quota for the month. You're 100% to your quota, right? And let's say that those other 4 sets that didn't hold, now they're potentially going to hold in a different month, to where you're going into the month with something to go off of, and you're not going in there dry looking for leads, trying to talk to people and all this, and you're struggling to hit your quota, right? And that's another thing that I will mention in another video of things I had to learn as an entry level BDR. Okay, but now that that has been kind of cleared up, the main thing that you want to focus on as a BDR is just finding your process, and that involves everything: pipeline, learning the tech stack, understanding the product, understanding cold calls, understanding cold emails, and everything else in between, right? That's what that means. Finding a good process. That's what you for sure should be focused on for the 3 months. I have changed my process 4 times since I started, and I didn't really start calling until April. And it's, or no, I didn't really start. Yeah, I started calling in April. So the first full month, right? And this is actually my celebration day because I've been at the company for 4 months now. Okay, and you want to find your process because it's going to make it a lot easier to do the job, and find a good schedule. That's another part of your process that I feel like I definitely overlooked, I would say. Find a good process, okay? And find a good process that complements a schedule. Like if you want to start calling around like 9 a.m., start calling around 9 a.m. and then have another block of emailing, like, and things like that. And I will go over my schedule in a different video of what I personally use, some things that I found out that work best for me. And in that video I can go over like my structure of cold emails, cold calls, and if you guys want deeper, like actual like education based videos, I can do that down the line too. Let me get to like 6 months, and then I'll start doing stuff like that, just so I have some things to actually go off of, because I'm still in the learning phase. Okay. But yeah, and I feel like tech sales is such a good industry because of the lessons that I've learned. And I was going to make this into 2 separate videos, but I'm just going to combine the two because it makes it a lot easier. I already told you about a couple of them. One of the biggest things is that I was going into this role thinking, oh, I've been in sales for like 3.5 years. And even though I took a break from doing sales, like I jumped back in, and like I was killing it in my last role. So that means I'm gonna come into this role and kill it again. You're gonna be very mistakenly wrong. It's a big learning curve for this industry. It's a huge learning curve, and I want to be the one to tell you that you're not gonna be great in the first like month or two. You're not gonna be great. You're gonna be decent, but you're not gonna be great like how you thought you were gonna do. Like I went from in-person B2C sales and transitioned back into B2B sales, but now it's remote. So now I'm in a whole different environment, 2, a whole different industry, and 3, the same sales cadence is not gonna fully 100% work in this industry. I started actually taking like a shot or two, a shot of 3 a day for coffee. Instead of putting in like my coffee cup, having that filled up all the way here, I would get like random like headaches. So I just started taking like a shot or 2. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying. But you're going to do bad, and you're not going to be perfect, and that's okay. You're not going to have the perfect process, but making sure that you're finding something, trying it for at least like a couple days to a week, find out if you like it or not, then switch it. And the thing with sales also, guys, if you guys haven't been in sales for a really long time, nothing is ever going to stay the same. Like realistically, like markets are going to change, your process is going to change. You're going to find something that you don't really like in your process, you're going to change it out for something else. You have these 2 cold call openers that you like, and then you found out that one of them isn't really working anymore, so now you have to update that. Like there's never going to be something that's set, but there is going to be something that's good for the next quarter, right? And that's something that I had to figure out on my own, that I'm not going to be perfect, but I do need to still make sure that I'm having a good process that helps me hit my metrics every single day, then lose my metrics every single day. And I really want to make that scheduling video because it's gonna be like an eye opener, and I want to go over a couple of things in that schedule as well. Um, Another thing I would realistically say that cold calling takes time. It takes time to understand the psychology behind it and who you're speaking to, and honestly, bro, you're like, it's basically like making a new friend. Okay, like when you're cold calling, it's like making a friend. You know nothing about them, they know nothing about you. You're trying to see if you add value to their life. And cold calling's kind of like the same way. This person has no clue who you are. They're obviously gonna be like, "Oh yeah, this guy's a scammer." Click. So you have to find a way to make them interested in what you're talking about without having the pushy sales. Like, yeah, like this is a, oh yeah, we help 3 million businesses and did over 10 billion in revenue. I tried that cold call opener, didn't fucking work. So it's a trial and error thing, right? So you need to figure out like the psychology of it. Talk to your peers, talk to your AEs, talk to your senior BDRs, talk to your managers, like figure out something that has worked for everyone that you can kind of implement into your process is what I found worked the best. And one of the best things that I would say that you can do after figuring out those, just put in the reps, bro. Like the reps is what is really gonna make you good. And like, I'm not saying that you have to go over your daily metrics to actually hit those numbers. Not at all. But if you do want to speed up the process of finding that, then you can do that. Me personally, I've just been doing the bare minimum while I'm figuring out the process and figuring out good openers, figuring out good value statements, and these are all the other things I will get into a different video. But it is something that you have to figure out on your own. You can watch 30 YouTube videos on cold call openers and then try all 30 of them and they don't work because it's very industry and you based. Like you can't just copy someone else's opener. You can take bits and pieces, be like, oh, I like how he said that. I can definitely see myself saying that. Or he said this that was pretty good. I can definitely put that in the opener. Or I can put this in the value statement. You can do that. But if you copy something word for word and they don't work at the same company as you, it's not mean it's going to automatically make you a six figure like a six-figure sales rep, bro. That's not how it works. That's definitely not how it works, and that's something that I fell into when I first started in sales. Okay, and finding your own process, taking bits and pieces from other people, implementing it into your process, and just perfecting it over time to where it's just basically second nature, which in your process, to where you're doing like maybe 3 calls and booking, well, let's be a little bit more realistic, doing about like 7 to 8 calls and booking like 3 meetings out of those 7 to 8 calls, right? And that's how you get good in sales. It's just constant reps, constant repetition. Well, those are 2 things: constant repetition, constant improvements, constant feedback, and then implementation. That's all you need. You don't even really need like a mentor, right? And like, especially when you're first starting, like you really don't, like the first month or two, you don't really need a mentor unless you have previous sales experience. Let me second to that. I just actually recently invested into a mentor. Okay, and he is an AE. Well, he was an AE for about a year before he is now transitioned to a sales trainer. Okay, and the reason that I invested into him is because I have previous sales experience. I got 85% to my quota between sets and holds last month, which is still pretty good, but it's not 100. So that shit doesn't matter. So I was like, okay, I've been talking to him for the past couple of weeks. I see what type of content he makes. I've seen like his timeline. Like this guy would be a pretty good and reputable person to actually go to for these kind of things. And I'm not saying that I can't talk to my managers about it, but they're getting paid to teach me anyway, right? So they probably, of course, they want to see me successful because that will come out of their bonus, right? Their commission or whatever for like getting commissions on like a sales team. But investing into someone who is outside and receive feedback from them can be good. Okay, and someone who's never worked at the company, someone who has never doesn't know a lot about the product. The only thing that they know about is the actual skill of the like working in tech or working in a specific industry. That's a little bit more and less bias. That's a little bit less bias than you talking to your manager about an issue that you're having. Um, I don't know, but that's just the way I think. But this video is about like 20 minutes. I don't know if I should call it or if I should keep talking. But and another big lesson that I learned was like scheduling, like having a good schedule. Went over that, finding your process, and it's gonna take time. Don't know if I'm missing anything. Another thing would be having a space that you can focus in. Okay, that's one of the biggest things. So in my office, I have a monitor right here. I have my MacBook right here. I have a notebook and a pen on my desk. Usually some coffee and some water. My phone typically, sometimes I usually have it in another room though. Then a couch sitting behind me that I can chill on, and then a mini fridge, and then and like a bookshelf like right here on the other side. And I have like these paintings on the wall, and then um, Tyler the Creator over there. So it's realistically on the floor in my office. It's only four things, okay, and that limits distractions. And not saying that you can't work out of a like a studio apartment or a one bedroom apartment, but making sure that you have a clean area. Because usually, whenever before I moved into this apartment, I would be sitting in the room and I'll be like, it was only a one bedroom apartment, and it would be like, damn, those I need to do the laundry that's sitting right there. It's kind of icking me. Okay, so I have like this bowl right here that I had this morning. That's kind of irritating. I have this and this, and then you just start pointing out things, and it deviates your focus. So anytime that I have having a non-cluttered environment, especially for your office, is going to be like one of the biggest differentiators from you making, let's say, $3,000 a month in like just like in general from sales, like commissions wise, and making $8,000. And now I have a full room for this type of stuff. So I have my bedroom, the office, and then we have our living room. And basically this entire house is my office. So if I really wanted to go work in the bedroom, is there going to be something that's going to distract me? And that's why I typically don't go in the bedroom, because there's always something in there to distract me. And I go in the kitchen. Are all the dishes done? Before I start, is did I clean up the dog poop that they probably pooped on the floor that when I wasn't paying attention? Is that cleaned up? Is everything goes tidy in there? Because that's like it like triggers you to be like, oh, I can't do this because of this. And having a clean and aesthetic space is like having a clear mind of what's around you, right? And that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn over the last couple of years, especially living with my parents. Of like, I need to have my room like spotless every single day, and if it's not spotless, it's gonna irritate me, right? And while we're on the topic of distractions, eliminate any distractions. Like sometimes, every now and then, I'll just catch myself scrolling on my phone. Like sometimes I'll just catch myself scrolling. Like I'll be sitting here, like just get done with my emails, and then I'll notice I'll start. It's like 9:10, and then I'll look and it's like 9:30. I'm like, what the fuck? It's been 20 minutes already. Let me lock in. So sometimes is another thing that I do with my phone specifically is that I will sometimes put it in a different room. I would leave it in the bedroom for a while and eliminate that distraction on its own, and then actually focus to get everything done to where around in my catch up time on my schedule, I can go grab my phone and I can kind of scroll for a little bit extra time because I'm already done with everything. I just got to catch up on maybe like a couple calls, maybe like an email or two, but like other than that, I'm done around like 4:30, you know? And with that being said, take your breaks. Me personally, I wasn't the type of person to take breaks, especially during the working day, and that definitely was costly, and I found out recently because I got food poisoning, and then went to the doctor. They said I was not only stressed, I was dehydrated, and I was not sleeping as much as I need to be. So definitely eye opener. So that was one of the biggest things as well. It's just finding like a schedule that makes sense. Not only just like your working schedule, but like a good sleep schedule that makes sense. A good routine that makes sense for you, right? But anyway, let's call it there. If I miss anything, I'll maybe make another video on it. Just have it on a separate video. But I just gotta keep making these videos, man. And yeah, gonna be making a couple videos today, and hopefully get to see you guys. If you guys made it to the last part of this video, just comment tech. Yeah, just comment tech. TECK. Just comment tech if you made it to this part of the video, and hopefully get to catch on in the next video if you guys fuck with this channel.